We have placed almost 5 million blocks on our survival world, yet our nether still looks like this, a barren wasteland. Let's change that. That's right, guys, the day has finally come for us to finally do the nether hub, so without further ado, let's get going. I have to gather 520,000 blocks for this project. One of the most challenging aspects of a build like this is, since it's the nether hub, you have to find a way to cover such a large space. For this project, I've gone ahead and built a 600 by 600 new slice of land. For the record, 600 by 600 means that there is 360,000 blocks in a single layer of the terrain. That's 211 shulker boxes of blocks for a single layer. So we have a lot of block gathering to do. Let's start it off strong. Starting off with grass blocks, we need 48,000 grass blocks. Originally this build had over 90,000, but I ended up reducing the amount just so I didn't have to gather so many blocks by hand. I ended up swapping them out for more farmable blocks like moss. Alright, so these 8 shulker boxes of grass blocks combined with, combined with all of these and those 2 double chests, I believe is all 48,000 grass blocks we need. Alright, let's see. And we take all of these out. We're good. We're cutting it very fine, but we are 1 block done, guys. Hip hip hooray. Only, I don't know, another 470,000 blocks to go, guys. Just another day in the office. Next, we needed the block that was the majority of this entire project, moss blocks. And we do actually have moss farms that I've used in previous videos, but honestly, they were just not up to par to gather 200,000 moss. So I ended up building 4 brand new moss farms, and combined we finished this actually so fast. The reason there was so much moss in this project is I just didn't want to have to hand gather a ton of blocks, and moss is fully AFKable. When I'm designing projects like this, I really take a look at what type of blocks I'm using, just to make sure it's actually gatherable and survivable without me wanting to die. That being said, the next block I needed was over 41,000 lime terracotta, so back to the mesa we go. This actually wasn't too bad. I just brought like 4 pickaxes with me and I got it done in 1 round. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Wait, this is, I'm actually tripping. That's not what I'm looking for either. This is what I'm looking for. Over 41,000 lime terracotta actually takes a surprising amount of dye to complete. I think I ended up using over 2.5 shulker boxes of lime dye just to dye all of the terracotta. And just a quick tip for all you new Minecraft players, and a tip for all you old ones as well in case you don't know. When you're crafting a ton of things at once in vanilla Minecraft, you can just hold shift and space and it will spam refill the crafting table or your inventory crafting table, allowing you to craft as much as you want. Alright, is that done? Please, do I gather enough? We're free! So many shulker boxes. It's gonna take so long to place. 20 shulker boxes of stone. That's 18. We got enough. Next up, we needed 12,000 tuff, and to do this, I went down to our diamond mines where I drilled all the diamonds out for the diamond tree. I built a beacon, and I just went to work at mining out all the tuff pockets in the walls of the tunnel bore. This was also a really effective strategy. It gave me easy access to a ton of tuff pockets, but still 12,000 tuff takes a long time. I gotta stop using so much tuff in my projects. And we have leftover tuff. Oh my gosh. Let me make sure I got all these first though. Alright, tuff wall, polished tuff wall, tuff slab. Check, check, check. All tuff is done. Getting into some of the smaller blocks, we needed 5,500 cobblestone, so this is our cobble farm. It generates about 2 stacks of cobblestone per TNT explosion that you see here. Next up, I gathered 13,500 bushes. This is just a really simple little farm I found off YouTube. Just made the whole process a lot easier. Moving on to the 12,000 short grass. Initially on stream, we started mining all the grass by hand, running around a savanna with some shears. And after about 5 minutes of doing that, we quickly realized that getting 11 shulker boxes of grass this way was just going to be horrible. So I quickly went and built a grass farm, so I had to block gather for all that, build it, and then we were able to run it, and it was way easier, huge time save. It was a great call. And now I have a grass farm to use for all my future projects, and I no longer have to gather it by hand. As a whole, it was actually really easy to build this grass farm. Also, there was a couple issues that you can actually see here where I was having issues with the rails aligning. But once you're able to get it all set up, it works perfectly. It's so much faster than gathering by hand. I highly recommend making one. But that's all 25,000 bushes and short grass done, so we're ready to move on. Following the grass and the bushes, we needed to gather 8,500 mud. I actually had a ton of leftover mud though from our previous projects, so all I had to do was AFK the wheat farm for a while to get enough wheat to make the packed mud, and we were good to go. Following the packed mud, we need 13,000 stained glass panes. All of these gray glass panes were used in the weapon blades to make them a bit fluffier without actually having to have a hard line. It just kind of helps them blend and they look a lot sharper. Gray stained glass is done. All right, I need another 6. It's 1 to 1. I forgot. 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Oh, 4. Perfect. What do you look at that? 4 boxes of cobblestone done. It's always nice when you just have everything prepped. We had to make a quick stop at the industrial storage room to gather 5,000 light gray wool, as well as to grab the 48,000 green wool used in this project. After 14 days of block gathering, we are officially done with collecting all 520,000 blocks for this project. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen this many shulker boxes in one place for a single project. There's a couple more things we have to do before we're able to start building, and as you can tell, this nether is not prepped for this project. There's a couple problems, one of which is I keep having magma cubes spawning up here. So before we get going, we're going to design a mob switch for the nether, and then also there's a lot of different areas that need to be torn down. We're going to raise all of the terrain as high up as it can possibly go before it hits the block limit, which is actually only about 15 blocks off the ground. But by doing that, we're really hoping that a lot of the farms will manage to stay hidden. Now, a lot of farms like this one will be hidden underneath but won't function anymore, so everything will have to get moved eventually. It's going to be a lot of work for us to deal with down the line, but it's going to be so worth it once this thing's done. The big one is the gold farm. I don't think I'm going to remove it right now, but it will have to get moved at some point. So for now, I think this is just going to kind of float over the battlefield that we're about to build, but I don't think it'll be too big an issue. Now, in the past, when we built our mob switch, which is encased in this obsidian block right here, we actually made an 8 villager breeder over here. And this 8-time villager breeder feeds into this little container here. And as you can tell, I have been AFKing this for a while and villagers are starting to die due to entity cramming. But that means we have a fantastic start, and all of our setup for doing this has already been made for us because we did this once before. So I'm going to start moving villagers over to the nether and get this process started. Before a quick shameless self-promotion, I stream all of this over on twitch.tv, so come say hi. Links down in the description. If you guys want to watch me suffer and move villagers over for like 3 days, come say hi. I also design all of my builds over there, so make sure to come check them out. If you have any questions or want any tips on your projects, I'm always more than happy to help out. I really enjoy spending the time and hanging out with you guys. But back to the task at hand, I am about to go rip my hair out while I deal with villagers. If you know, you know. Honestly, this being the second time we've done this, it really wasn't that bad this time. There was only a couple of really annoying things, one of which was that we could only hold about 20 or 30 at a time before they'd start entity cramming. This meant that we had to keep AFKing, coming back, doing more, going back AFKing, coming back, doing more. Keeping track of how many I sent Cybark was also really annoying. He was in the nether handling them on the other side, so I resulted to just DMing him every time I sent one. And in case you're interested, this is what me and Cybark's DMs looked like while we were doing this process. That's right, I DM'd him for every single villager I sent his way. And yes, he was annoyed with me by the end of it. So when Cybark and I actually set up our overworld mob switch, we already had this setup already done. So for doing the nether one, we're just reusing all of the original setup, and essentially this 8 villager breeder feeds into this little containment cube and then runs over into these tracks, and I have this whole setup to deal with 5 at a time. And the way this works is, since we're using Fletchers, we're constantly shuffling these until we get trades where they are able to trade for sticks, as that is by far the easiest one to trade for. It's a 50% chance. So we get a stick, I trade with him, so he's locked now. I send him off, replace that, and then I flick this one, come over here, grab a new one out of the pen, and I just repeat this process. And we are actually almost done with this process. I think this is actually just now, that is enough for a 2-man mob switch. Now I am going to do a few extra just in case I miscounted. So from 140, we typically will do like an extra 10 or something just to be safe. But yeah, that's how we've done this, and this whole system has been working phenomenal, and next time we ever do this, we're definitely copying the system and doing it again. Now, I thought this was going to be a really satisfying clip where the zombie turns all of the villagers into zombified villagers, and it ended up being the complete opposite of that. I was stressing out live on stream, and it was because we'd made the pen way too large, so all the villagers had plenty of space to run away from the zombie, which resulted in them entity cramming themselves to death in the corner, which meant that not only were we not turning villagers into zombies, but we were also losing villagers, which I had to then go and get more of to bring back over here to refill the numbers lost, because otherwise the mob switch won't work. As you can see here, I was in an absolute panic trying to place in these oak planks so that I could make the area smaller, hoping that the zombie would be able to catch a couple of the villagers. It did not work. Eventually though, he was able to catch a couple of the villagers, and after that we were smooth sailing. Mob switch done. Now, to quickly address two things, I am aware there are other mob switches we could have used. Honestly, I just don't know how they work, and we already had all the infrastructure for this one. And secondly, the way a mob switch works is that there is 70 possible hostile mobs on the world at any given point per player that is on the server. So because we are a 2-man server, that means there can be up to 140 mobs, so we had to get over 140 villagers. In our case, we actually went for up to 3 players in case we have a visitor. And there are actually only a couple mobs that count towards this hostile mob count that cannot despawn, one of which is traded with villagers, another which is very common is wardens. But yeah, that's how you turn your hard Minecraft world into peaceful mode. Also, this is dimension dependent, so you have to do it for the Nether, for the overworld, or for the end, and then you have to chunk load it in whichever one you're doing it in. So in our case, we now have one in both the overworld and the Nether, so no mobs can spawn in 2 of the 3 dimensions. Now that the mob switch is done, it's time for us to move on to tearing down a bunch of the old farms. Starting off here, this is the shulker farm. Now the way the shulker farm works is there's a chance the shulker will despawn, so it stores a couple on the bottom of the portal. I decided to keep these shulkers, so I pushed them down in minecarts and boxed them up at the bottom, so that in the future when we rebuild this farm, it's a lot easier. Next up is the guardian killing box. Now for this one, I ended up just breaking the box and we're just leaving the rest of it as is. In the future, what we'll probably do is just shrink the number of chests so the portal sits like 5 blocks lower, and then it will fit underneath the terrain. Here, I just decided to rip out the warped farm. I needed to build a better one anyways in the future. Now that the mob switch, as well as all of the little bit of prep that we had to do is all done, we're able to finally start building this project. So the base for this entire project is this flowing grassy hills. Now, I didn't want any too steep elevation points, but I did also want some lower divots. And to try and help break up the green, we placed in all of these big muddy patches as you can see here. This is where all of the jungle planks, packed mud, and spruce planks were all used, which by my estimates totaled up about 25,000 blocks of the base layer. Now let me know down below if you guys have any other ideas as to what I could have done to help break up this massive green. It is by far my biggest gripe with the entire project is how much green there was. One of the leading thoughts we had was to try and add like blood splatters through it, but honestly I think it would have taken away from the color of the build. But let me know down below what you think I should have done. Initially, the plan for this entire build was to actually not build the mob switch at all and to do the entire build out of non-spawnable blocks. This would have been absolutely massive if I'd managed to pull it off, because we would have been able to never relocate any of the farms, and stuff like the gold farm would still work perfectly. Now, I did try a ton of block pallets. I tried all the slab variations I could come up with, but there's just no good green slabs in the game. I could have used green carpet and moss carpet, but apart from that, the build would have looked so plain without the other colors to help break it up. And I racked my head around this for multiple hours across multiple days, and I just couldn't come up with a better solution, so I ended up just building the mob switch and biting the bullet. Which means in the future, in some of our upcoming videos, we're going to have a lot of extra work where if I need blocks, I will have to rebuild a couple farms. Yeah, you guys can let me know if I missed something obvious and I just could have saved myself a ton of work. But as it stands, this build turned out so much better because I didn't have those limitations as to what I could build with now. But we have finally finished the first 25,000 blocks, which is all of the brown, so I can officially remove those from any blocks that we'll have to place in the future. We get to move on to the green. So much green. As I said earlier in this video, this project is 600 blocks by 600 blocks. That is 360,000 square blocks that this build takes up. At the end of this video, I'll show you guys a clip of the schematic in the overworld, and it just dwarfs everything in the overworld. The cave of creation, for the record, is 300 blocks by 300 blocks at its widest points. So in block area, this build is 4 times larger than one of the largest builds on our world. Now, as I mentioned, I tried to not have too much elevation change in this project as I wanted you to be able to see far and I wanted you to be able to see all of the weapons poking out from the ground in the distance. Now, despite that, it might not look like this much elevation change, but some of these hills are like 15 to 20 blocks tall. It's just the build is so large you cannot tell. I also get a lot of questions asking about how much time I spend working on these projects. This project actually didn't take as long as I thought it would. I spent about 165 hours in survival Minecraft, both gathering the blocks and placing all the blocks. And then I spent about another 40 to 50 in creative mode designing all the weapons and the terrain. And then about another 30 to 40 editing this YouTube video. This single continuous shot of me placing blocks consisted of over 6 hours of footage and over 90,000 blocks placed. It was at about this point that I really started regretting making this thing 600 by 600, but I think to pull off this project, it had to be at least 600. Originally, I messed with trying out shapes and sizes of about 300 to 400 blocks in diameter, and honestly, it just didn't take up enough space. I feel like the only way this project would actually look good is if as far as you could see in every direction, it still felt like it was the same build. Whereas when it was 300 to 400, you'd actually be able to see the edges, and adding another 100 blocks of padding really made a big difference in my opinion. The only thing that sucks is obviously adding another 100 blocks increases the total block count by like 40%, so it took a lot more effort to build. But it was worth it in the end, and now no matter where you are, this build is so immersive and it truly feels like you're in a distant area rather than on top of the Nether. I post all of my builds available on Patreon for download, so if you guys are interested, make sure to go swing by the Patreon. For this project, I'll have a post that's the entire Nether hub, and I'll have one that's just a weapon asset pack, so if you guys are interested in either of those, make sure to go check them out. Going back to the build now, as you can see, we've placed a ton of green, and guess what? This is about the halfway point in how much green I had to place. I get a lot of questions asking about how I designed my terrain. For this one, I just simply used a little bit of elevation with the Axiom tool, and then came back in and noise painted everything that I wanted to be different colors. On a slice of terrain like this, I really wanted it to be super simple. I didn't want anything fancy, so it was a really simple process, and trust me, any of you guys could make this. So it has been a few days since I last updated you guys. We are officially about 200,000 blocks into this project. We still haven't even finished the base layer, but we're actually making really good progress. I'm hoping that in about another 10 hours of building, I'm able to finish this last chunk. But as it stands, we are through probably maybe slightly over 2/3. It's actually pretty insane though, looking at this. As far as you can see, it is just going to be custom terrain. Honestly, at this point, it kind of feels like we're just terraforming the entire Nether. But now I'm going to get back to work and let's finish off the base layer. Going back to the topic of building tips though, I'm extremely active in my Discord server. So if you guys are interested in getting some help on any of your projects, just make sure to drop messages in the Discord server, and I try my best to keep up with all of them. And if I don't get to it, we have a super talented community building in there, and someone will always be there to help you out. So links to all that will be down in the description below. Coming back to the actual build at hand though, the end is finally in sight as we finish off this last corner here. I can't tell you how excited I was to be done with this. After about 28 hours of placing blocks, that's right guys, 28 hours, we have finished the base layer. Now obviously it's not going to remain this plain, as while this looks pretty decent, it's not really good, and I like my stuff to be really good. So there's a few more details we have yet to add. There's a bunch of grass and bushes that stretches across this entire area. But then we also went ahead and added a bunch of little shrubbery to areas, as well as a lot of big rocks to scatter around. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is knock out all of the rest of the scenery. But I seriously cannot get over how insane this is, guys. This is the Nether roof. You can't see Nether roof in any direction. I walked across it earlier on stream. It took me over 2 minutes to sprint jump across the entire platform. Moving on though, it's time for us to put the grass in. Honestly, my favorite part about this clip isn't even the grass going down. Is you see the gold farm there? That's inside the Nether hub. The Nether hub is that big. Coming back to the actual build though, here we're adding all of the grass and all the bushes. There was about 25,000 total, and I spent over 5 hours placing all of these in. While the change from above feels very minimal, when you're actually on the ground, adding these bushes and all the short grass in really helps it feel a lot less plain. So while it was an absolute pain to do it, I think it was really worth adding in this little bit of extra detail. I'm just going to fast forward through this whole process and move on to something a little bit more interesting for you guys to see, and to something a little bit more visual. But yeah, I did about 5 hours of this as well. Honestly, at this point, I don't know why I do this to myself. After another 5 hours of placing blocks, we have placed in another 25,000 blocks. All 25,000 of these blocks consist of the bush and the short grass, but we have successfully placed all of this, and as you can see in every direction, now the terrain feels a lot less plain and a lot more fluffy. But our next step is going to be to go in and actually add all the shrubbery and all of the rocks, so I'm going to get to work on that and I'll catch you guys all in another minute. This was by far the worst step of the project so far though. Placing in all these short grass and bushes sucks, man. Do not recommend it. I like to wait until I've at least given you guys a little something to judge my channel on before I ask. But if you guys are enjoying the video at this point in time, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to push towards 100,000 subs this year. I have no idea if it's possible, but I really hope it is. And I appreciate every single one of you guys helping me make it happen. If that's not enough to encourage you, I do have an important announcement, which is my next video. I've already begun designing some of the parts for it, and I genuinely think it will be my best project I have ever done. It is so highly detailed with such a unique theme that I think it will stand out and it'll be so cool. And I highly recommend you guys subscribe so that you can see that one. Back to the rocks though, I don't know how noticeable it is, but I actually used two different color palettes on these. I had a lighter tone color palette for the top of them, and I had this darker color palette for all of those sides. I think it just added a little bit of pop to them. Checking back in after placing another 35,000 blocks. We have officially finished all of the major rocks around the area. And as you can see, it's starting to feel a little less plain. Now, this is a problem with this entire build is I don't really like how plain it feels. But I think when we add in all of the weapons, the huts, and the paths, it will really help break up all of this green. But that is another massive step of the project done. So let's keep on going and let's finish this thing. I don't know why, but whenever I watch this clip, I can't help but think of like those model train builders doing their little sceneries. I don't know why, but I find that really funny, and it's just all I could think of the whole time. Anyways though, shout out to Cybark. He hopped on and helped me build all these little trees, which was actually incredibly helpful as the trees were just slightly too tall for one person to actually build themselves, and having someone doing the top so someone did the bottom worked perfectly. After another 5 hours of placing blocks, yeah, I also don't know, but every single step I swear took 5 hours. We have officially finished all of the little trees and shrubs that surround the entire project and helped just kind of add a little bit of extra. And as you can see now, it's already starting to feel a lot less plain, isn't it? Overall, I'm pleased with how far we've gotten. We have a lot more to go though, so let's keep cracking. I'm going to start building the weapons now, which is the main attraction of this entire project. And I know this is going to be a pain and take way too long, so let's get going. Now for this project, I actually made 14 different weapon assets that I pasted around. And honestly, I probably should have tried to make even more. One of the big things I'm trying to start doing with my projects is attempt to use less repetition and add more variety in, because I think just adding an extra couple makes a huge difference in terms of it not feeling so monotonous. But sadly, that's easier said than done. When you've been building in creative for like 3 weeks straight and you've designed 12 weapons, the last thing you want to do is go make another 6. But I promise on my next projects I will try to push through that feeling and make the next 6. But with 14, we were at least able to really sell the illusion of variety, and I think we had just enough where it didn't feel too bad. However, when we look at the individual weapons, I am very happy with them. I spent so long trying to shape these. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to build at like 30-degree angles and straight lines, but it is absolute pain. The asset that I am most proud of is definitely the helmet. The way I designed the helmet was I pulled up a 2D silhouette image of a side profile of a Spartan helmet, stacked it about 20 wide, and then began carving the block back the way you see people carve back wood carvings. Essentially, I then tried to make the front silhouette of the build and carve that backwards until you have kind of like a cube shape, and then you smooth out the corners. I don't know, I'm not that good at organics yet. Wrapping up day 1 of building weapons, we got over halfway done and I built for around 7 hours. And as you can see, this thing goes crazy, man. My goal for this project was to have it be an insane atmosphere, and I think we might have nailed that part. You'll still be able to see my biggest complaint, which is that I don't like how open these areas are, but honestly, on a scale like this, there was not much I could do about it. But I think walking around these giant weapons, it's something else, man. But as you can see, we've done about half of the project. The midpoint line is here, so we're a little bit under half there, but then I went and did this extra corner at the end. I'm hoping that in our second session, which is today, I'll be able to finish the entire rest of this project. I think it will probably take another 6 hours. So without further ado, let's go finish this project. Make sure to comment down below what your favorite weapon design that I made is. I have a feeling the halberd is gonna win, but you never know. And while you're at it, make sure to let me know whether you enjoy me dropping kind of like building tips and tricks during these time lapses, because I don't know if you guys enjoy that, so you guys have to let me know. I ended up having to build about 70 to 80 weapons total, but I think it really filled in the space and looks really good. I do wish, however, that I'd added a few weapons kind of broken and laying around flat on the ground, because I think that would have made it a lot more realistic. Then again, what part of this is realistic? Moving on to one of my favorite details with the entire build, if not my favorite one, is on the spears with the crossbeam, we added these banners. All of these represent different specific portals that are really important to our world. Our thought process behind this was, well, first of all, banners would look really cool in this area. And second of all, having these banners allows us to instantly tell and orientate ourselves as to where we are heading. When you look into the distance, it's super easy to spot a giant eye of Ender and just know that that's where the end portal is, compared to it just being this grassy land where you're like, oh, what direction am I facing right now? Huge shout out to the stream though. They were the ones who actually suggested adding the symbols to the banners, and I absolutely loved that idea, so thank you guys so much. That's right, a lot of little details on my world are inspired by you guys. You guys do really make my builds a lot better. So we ended up making 5 banners for the 5 most important features on our world, in my opinion. I'll talk about more what those features are here in a second. I sadly goofed really bad and forgot to record the last 2 banners getting built. This banner here that you can see represents our spawn. It's meant to depict the artifact from the Cave of Creation, and I think we really nailed it. We actually copied the exact silhouette of the artifact and slapped it on the banner to nail that shape. For reference, this is the artifact at the center of the Cave of Creation, and as you can see, I think the depiction is pretty accurate. And make sure to check out this video if you guys haven't seen it already. 20,000 diamonds, man. The last banner that I forgot to show is this one, which is a gear, and this one represents our industrial district. It's nothing too fancy about this one, we just thought an industrial gear worked. Originally, I actually had it as 2 wrenches, but honestly, it didn't look that great, so we ended up with the gear. Just for quick reference, this was the wrenches crossed, and I think it was just the color palette was way too sharp, and they were scaled up a little bit too big. In that last clip, we finished all of the banners, and now these banners will mark exactly where all of these special portals are that go to the important parts of our world. For example, the Eye of Ender obviously represents the end. The flame represents the forge, or our super smelter with the ice biome. The gear represents the old industrial district. The artifact represents our spawn and the tree of life. And lastly, the sun here represents eternal daytime, which is our mob switch. As a whole though, I think that grayscaling them was a great idea and it really helps them blend into this biome. That being said, this project is not quite done yet. Obviously, we still have to move all the portals up top, and we have gone ahead and designed this little hut design, kind of like a Japanese shrine that looks really cool, and it's going to be where all of the portals sit. It's just going to make the portals a little bit more interesting than just some black cubes up on here, and I think I will add paths between them all. So without further ado, let's go get started with that, and let's wrap up this project finally. So the inspiration for these little huts was actually like waypointers in a lot of like classic video games. Now originally we actually designed like 7 of these huts in different colors, and they were meant to sit in the overworld and be kind of like biome dependent. So in like a snow biome you'd have a blue one, and a warm biome you might have a yellow one. And we made them like 2 years ago, loved them, and just never built any of them. So I decided to repurpose them for the Nether as kind of like a starting point for us to then eventually link them up in the overworld in the future. But they're kind of just a fun little way for us to add more detail to the top of the Nether roof here. But I think it would have been boring if we had only done these huts. So to try and add a little bit more variety, I thought they kind of represented a Japanese style shrine. So I ended up adding some torii gates as well to try and help balance it out and break up all of the little huts. In the future, if we make more portals, I'll probably add another little hut design or gate design to help break it up even more. And the last building clip I have recorded for you guys is us putting these paths in. I went for kind of a spiderweb feel and had the paths blend into the surrounding terrain. I wanted them to just be a little bit of a subtle thing for when you're actually walking around, and they help us with adding lore in the future here. In the future, these paths will spiderweb out more, but as of right now, we only have 8 main portals in this area, so I'm just linking those 8 up via the paths. In the last clip, we went through and added in all of the gates. Now there is one other detail I've added, which are the gassed heads on these end rods. As you guys know, I love to add lore to all my builds, and my current thought process is the souls of the battle wander these roads. So these are meant to be almost artistic depictions of souls wandering, and I used gas heads on end rods to try and pull that off. I think it's just interesting and adds a little bit of extra lore to the project. And my thought process is when they get to these portals, they end up ascending and like leaving this plane, and the candles represent souls leaving. I almost completely forgot. I promised to show you guys what the schematic looked like in the overworld. And yeah, as you can see, this thing dwarfs any project on this world. The entire redwood is like a quarter of it. The cave of creation is a quarter of it. I'm getting 4 FPS with this thing rendered. It's insane, man. Crazy project. I took some time and I added this simple fog control mod to this world just so that I could get screenshots and clips of me walking around with all the fog on here. When I was originally designing this project, I always envisioned it with the nether fog, and it allowed me to adjust the distance that the fog starts and ends so that I can get these really awesome shots. This is one of my favorite things to do, where I design Minecraft builds with intended Minecraft features, for example, the nether fog in this case, and I try to play around those features to create something cool. And for this one, I thought the fog would add amazing atmosphere to this project, and I hesitantly think I was correct on that. I do want to give you guys a quick demonstration of what it's like for us now in the nether. So this is actually our spawn portal, right? And it's depicted by the spawn tree, or the artifact, sorry, not the tree. And earlier in the video when I was talking about the banners helping you like locate where portals are, look at how easy that is. End portal is right there. You just know instantly despite not being able to actually see the end portal. And for us, we'll just kind of be flying around normally. But it's just going to have some awesome atmosphere while we're doing it. And this is the end portal. I do really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This video took me forever to make. I've been working on it every day for the past month and a half. So once again, if you think I earned it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you are interested in the build, downloads will be available on my Patreon for both the weapon packs as well as the entire project. I now stream Thursday through Sunday at about 10:30 a.m. Pacific. So if you guys are interested in seeing my design process for my next project, make sure to come swing by. I'll be working on that for the next couple weeks. Apart from that, I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and peace out.